something happened in the last few days that a lot of people almost missed. While the world was busy with daily news and everyday life, for human beings were flying around the moon. Not in a movie. Not in a simulation. In real life. Their spacecraft was called Orion, and the mission was called Artemis 2. And the pictures they brought back, even just the first batch, are some of the most beautiful and important photographs ever taken by human hands. This story is about those images. What they show. Why they matter. And what it actually felt like for the crew to be out there, farther from Earth than any human has been in over 50 years. Let us start from the beginning. The first images released to the public show the Orion spacecraft approaching the moon. The crew was preparing for what NASA called a record-breaking flyby. They did not land on the moon. They flew around it, getting as close as needed and then swinging out to a distance of about 4,000 miles above the surface. That number sounds large, but in space terms, it is extremely close. Close enough to see craters in sharp detail. Close enough to feel the moon's gravity pulling at the ship. What made this milestone even more special was the record it broke. The last time humans had been this far from Earth was in 1968, during the Apollo 8 mission. That was over 50 years ago. A different era. Black and white television. No internet. No smartphones. And yet, here in our time, 4 astronauts quietly broke that record, and sent back photographs to prove it. One of the first images that caught everyone's attention shows the moon as a growing crescent, with a tiny blue Earth visible in the background. The Earth looks small, almost shy, tucking itself behind the moon's curved edge. It is one of those images that stops you. 3 worlds visible in a single frame, the moon in front, the Earth behind it, and the vast darkness of space surrounding everything. Then came the eclipse photos. These are the ones that will likely appear in textbooks one day. From where the astronauts were, orbiting near the moon, they watched the moon completely block out the sun. This is called a total solar eclipse, but it looked very different from what we see on Earth. When we watch a solar eclipse from the ground, it lasts only a few minutes. For the Artemis 2 crew, because the moon appeared so large from their position, the eclipse lasted around 54 minutes. Nearly an hour of total darkness. The headline image from this eclipse is almost impossible to describe without seeing it. The full moon sits in the center of the frame, completely blocking the sun behind it. But here is the special part: on the left side of the moon, there is a faint, soft glow. It is not the sun. It is Earthshine. That means sunlight is bouncing off the Earth, traveling across space, and gently lighting up part of the moon's dark surface. It sounds complicated, but the effect in the image looks peaceful and almost magical. A dark moon with a soft golden edge, floating in total blackness. Below the moon in that same image, 3 planets are visible: Saturn, Mars, and Mercury. All 3 are tiny, like distant dots, but they are there. Neptune was also nearby in the sky at that time, but it was too dim and too far away to show up in the image. Even without Neptune, having 3 planets, a total eclipse, Earthshine, and stars all in one photograph is something that may never happen again in the same way. Yes, there are stars in that image too. Normally it is hard to photograph stars near the moon because the moon is so bright. But during the eclipse, the moon was dark, so the camera could use a longer exposure and let the starlight in. The result is a sky full of stars surrounding the eclipsed moon, something even astronomers rarely get to see like this. There are also a few bright spots on the dark part of the moon that are not stars. The crew noticed them and explained that these are dead pixels in the camera sensor, caused by radiation. Out in deep space, far from the protection of Earth's atmosphere, the camera equipment gets hit by cosmic radiation constantly. These tiny white dots are actually a sign of just how hostile and powerful the space environment is. Even the cameras are being changed by the journey. After nearly an hour of darkness, the sun began to slowly appear again from behind the moon's edge. The crew captured this moment too. The images show the first thin sliver of sunlight peeking out, and along the edge of the moon you can see something surprising: the surface is not smooth. It is jagged and uneven. Mountains and craters create an irregular silhouette. It is a reminder that the moon, which looks like a perfect circle from Earth, is actually a very rugged and dramatic world up close. One of the later eclipse images also shows the moon lit by earthshine, and in that soft, reflected light, some of the moon's darker regions are faintly visible. One of these regions is called Mare Crisium, a large dark plain made of ancient lava. It is visible from Earth too, if you know where to look. There is also a small bright dot near the moon in this image, that is Venus. Simple, quiet, and beautiful. These images did not take themselves. 4 people were behind the cameras, working during a 7-hour observation window while flying around the moon. This is the right moment to talk about them. Commander Reed Wiseman led the mission. Victor Glover was the pilot. Christina Koch was the mission specialist. And Jeremy Hansen, a Canadian astronaut, completed the crew. Together they became the first people to fly past the moon since 1972. The photos of the crew taken during this time are some of the most human images in the entire collection. There is a shot of Victor Glover and Christina Koch floating by a window, taking pictures and making observations. There is one of Jeremy Hansen using a camera, focused and calm. There is Victor showing something exciting to the others, you cannot tell exactly what, but their expressions give it away. And there is Reed Wiseman with his face pressed close to the window, looking out at the moon with the concentration of someone trying to memorize everything they see. One window has a dark cloth over it to reduce any light reflections that would interfere with the cameras. It is a small practical detail, but it makes the images feel very real. These are people doing careful, thoughtful work in an extraordinary place. There is also a photograph of 2 crew members wearing eclipse glasses. Even in space, even while orbiting near the moon itself, they wore protective glasses at the start of the eclipse. Safety first, even 230,000 miles from home. After the eclipse images came the close-up surface photographs, and these show the moon in a way most people have never seen it before. One photograph focuses on the Oriental Basin, one of the moon's largest and youngest impact craters. It looks like a bullseye, multiple rings spreading out from the center, each one formed by the shock wave of the original impact billions of years ago. The surface around it is covered with smaller craters, each one a record of some ancient collision. The moon has no weather, no wind, no rain. Every mark on its surface is preserved exactly as it was made, sometimes billions of years ago. Another image shows the Aristarchus crater, a bright white spot sitting in the middle of a large dark lava plain. It stands out so sharply that it almost looks wrong, like someone placed a spotlight in the middle of a shadow. The Grimaldi crater nearby is almost the opposite, a perfectly round black spot in a lighter region. There are also images that show crater rays, long bright streaks spreading out from younger craters like spokes on a wheel. These rays are made of the material thrown outward when a space rock hit the moon. The rays of Burgess crater are particularly visible in some of the photos. One image focuses on the Vavilov crater, sitting right at the boundary between the sunlit side and the shadowed side of the moon. This boundary is called the terminator line. Craters on or near the terminator look especially dramatic because the low angle of sunlight creates very long shadows that make every hill and pit look deeper and more striking than it really is. These images look almost like paintings, the contrast between light and shadow is so sharp and clean. Several photographs also capture the South Pole area of the moon, showing the South Pole Basin, the largest and oldest known impact crater in the entire solar system. It is enormous. So large that from orbit, the edges are barely visible at the same time. Scientists are very interested in this region because they believe there may be ice hidden in the permanently shadowed craters near the South Pole, which could be important for future missions. Some of the most talked about images from the Artemis 2 mission show the moon and Earth together in the same frame. These are not easy photographs to take. Getting the exposure right for a brightly lit moon and a dimly lit Earth at the same time takes skill and patience. One image has been given an unofficial name, Earthset. Just like a sunset on Earth, this image shows the Earth setting behind the edge of the Moon. The Earth is partially in shadow, the dark side experiencing night. The sunlit side shows swirling clouds over the Australia and Oceania region. In the foreground, a large crater called the M crater fills the bottom of the image with its terraced walls and flat floor. Right in the center of that flat floor, a group of central peaks rises up. These peaks formed when the Moon's surface liquefied on impact and then splashed back upward before freezing in place. These images draw natural comparisons to older, famous space photographs. The Earthrise photo taken during Apollo 8 in 1968. The blue marble photo taken from Apollo 17. Artemis 2 now adds its own chapter to that history. One set of images shows the Earth growing smaller as the crew went behind the Moon. The last image before blackout, taken just 3 minutes before the crew lost contact with Earth, shows the Earth peaking above the Moon's horizon, looking small and very far away. Then for 40 minutes, there was silence. The Moon stood between the crew and everyone they had ever known. No signals could pass through solid rock. The crew continued working, continued photographing, in complete radio silence. When contact returned, the first thing the crew saw was a crescent Earth rising above the dark silhouette of the Moon. This Earthrise moment, their version of the famous Apollo 8 photo, is one of the most powerful images in the collection. The Moon's rough, dark edge cuts across the bottom of the frame. Above it, the Earth glows as a thin crescent of blue and white. It is breathtaking. Among all the scientific observations and technical achievements of this mission, there was one deeply personal moment that many people are still talking about. Just before the flyby, the crew shared a message. They had identified 2 currently unnamed craters on the Moon, both sitting near the boundary between the near side and the far side. They wanted to name them. One, they wanted to name Integrity, after their own Orion spacecraft, which they had come to trust completely. The other, they wanted to name Carol, after Reed Wiseman's late wife, who had passed away before the mission. Carol. Spelled Caroll. A wife, a mother, now forever a part of the Moon. The mission controllers responded simply, loud and clear. Thank you. These 2 craters are visible in one of the close-up photographs. They are small, bright spots sitting northwest of the Glushko crater. From Earth, at certain times of the month, they can actually be seen, just barely, with the right equipment. Somewhere on the Moon, in a place people can look up and find, there is a crater named Carol. The Artemis 2 spacecraft is now heading home. The crew is safe. The mission was a success. But the photographs released so far are only a small part of what was captured during the flyby. The Deep Space Communication Network can only send so much data at a time, and the priority is information about the health of the crew and the spacecraft. The rest of the images and video are stored on board and will be released over the coming days, weeks, and possibly months. What we have already seen is remarkable. A record-breaking distance from Earth. A 54-minute solar eclipse seen from space. Planets lined up in the sky. Earthshine. A crater named for someone who was loved and lost. A crew of 4 human beings doing the quiet, careful, extraordinary work of going somewhere almost no one has ever gone. The best Artemis 2 Moon images so far are extraordinary. The ones still to come may be even better.